In the middle of the desert in Australia's red centre, this plane graveyard is packed. These are just a few of more than 300 Boeing 737 MAX 8 airliners that have been grounded worldwide for almost a year after 2 deadly air crashes.
Even before the recovery of the black box flight recorder, evidence is pointing to mechanical failure.
In October 2018, a Lion Air flight crashed soon after takeoff from Jakarta. A few months later, an Ethiopian Airlines flight met the same fate. Both aircraft were Boeing's latest model, the 737 MAX 8.
This is absolutely unprecedented.
What was the response from your fellow pilots after the 2 MAX 8 planes crashed just months apart?
It was disbelief to think that something like this could happen.
Why so much disbelief?
I suppose the reputation of Boeing and the real promotion about the MAX being, the bee's knees, so to speak, of the modern aircraft. Now we're ready for departure, so park, brake off.
Pilot Grant HALLINAN runs this flight simulator of an earlier 737 model in Sydney.
Brake, advance the throttle, full power.
He's simulating a takeoff from Jakarta, just like Lion Air Flight 610 did, before crashing minutes later into the ocean. Indonesian authorities found a major cause of the crash was a new piece of automated software on the 737 MAX known as MCAS, which stands for Manoeuvring Characteristics Augmentation System. After the MAX 8 was found to pitch its nose upwards in flight, the new software was intended to make it safer by automatically moving the nose of the aircraft down.
They put the software in to overcome a poor design. The problem was, in the 2 crashes, it pulled the nose too far down and the pilots were neither trained or capable or had the time to pull the nose up, and the aircraft has gone straight down because they couldn't control it. But the problem was that this MCAS effect isn't even included in the flight manuals and wasn't in any of the other training. This aircraft clearly should never have been allowed to fly.
In a statement, Boeing told 730 it's made changes to its MCAS software to prevent the problems that occurred on the fatal Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines flights. Questions around the safety of Boeing aircraft now extend beyond its 737 MAX 8 model.
There's some bad things going on here in Charleston.
In the United States, former Boeing quality manager John Barnett worked on a different plane, the 787 Dreamliner. He says he wouldn't travel on one himself.
I would not fly on a Dreamliner, and I've asked my family and begged my family not to fly on the Dreamliners because I know what's under the skin. I know what's flying around out there, and it's scary.
John worked for Boeing for more than 2 decades before moving to the company's new factory in North Charleston, South Carolina, where he started to see problems in the construction of its flagship aircraft. John noticed tiny shavings of scrap metal were being left inside aircraft after they'd been completed, which he says poses a serious fire risk.
And all these metal slivers are falling right down into the wiring, into the electrical equipment. When you mix metal slivers with electrical components, it's a recipe for disaster.
He also says he discovered major problems with the system that supplies oxygen to passengers through masks during an emergency.
When those are actually initiated, 25% of them failed to initiate. 25% of the oxygen systems flying around today on the 787s aren't going to work properly.
The former Boeing quality manager also alleges that damaged parts were being used to build new aircraft instead of being thrown out.
If we have defective parts and we don't have any more new parts in stock, then the mechanic could go take a defective part and put it on the airplane because they want to sell their job, they want to get their job done for that day, not thinking about the long-term ramifications of it, right? I raised every flag inside the Boeing company that I could possibly raise, and it was not addressed properly, so that's when I decided I had to go outside of Boeing.
John took his concerns to the United States Federal Aviation Administration, which confirmed his complaint about metal shavings and that Boeing could not account for the disposal of some damaged parts. It also found Boeing was aware of problems with the emergency oxygen supply and was addressing them. But John remains sceptical.
I don't see a whole lot of action going on to correct what's inside Boeing.
John Barnett retired in 2017. He's taking legal action against Boeing under legislation to protect whistleblowers from discrimination.
There's also a rule of thumb in production that it takes 8 to 10 years for a defect to become an issue on an airplane. So, our first delivery out of Charleston was late 2012. And I'm concerned. I'm really concerned.
In a statement, Boeing said the concerns raised by John Barnett didn't pose a safety risk and the faulty oxygen supplies have been addressed. Boeing said every plane that leaves its factory has been through rigorous safety tests. And while 730 understands that no domestic Australian airline flies the Dreamliner out of the North Charleston factory, many international airlines do. As for the MAX 8s, Qantas doesn't own any yet, but said it would consider it for the future. And Virgin has delayed its order to 2025. Boeing has temporarily halted production of MAX 8s while it scrambles to find a fix. The jets remain grounded, but Boeing hopes to get them declared fit to fly by July.
They all said there'd be a quick solution, and here we are, almost 12 months since 300 odd people lost their lives. There is still not a solution. That shouldn't be there in the first place, and no, you wouldn't get me near a MAX 8.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.